Hello everyone, this is Les Picker with Les Picker Fine Arts Photography, and today we're going to be talking about a product called Gatorboard. We did a video a few weeks ago in which I mentioned Gatorboard as a medium, if you will, that you can mount your prints to. And as a result of that, we got a bunch of questions about it. So I thought I would talk a little bit about Gatorboard in this, what I hope will be a fairly short video. But there are a couple things I want to say before we even get started. First, we have no relationship whatsoever with the Gatorboard, the people who produce Gatorboard. I don't even know who produces it, but we use a heck of a lot of it in the studio. And so we're pretty knowledgeable about it, but we have no relationship with the company. Second thing is that I teach a full day workshop on how to use Gatorboard in different ways, creative, traditional ways, as well as very creative ways. And I can't begin to reproduce that here in this short video. So today I'm just going to be focusing on some of the things about Gatorboard that I feel you should know, and also giving you a couple of tips and hints for using Gatorboard. So let me start by answering the question, what is Gatorboard, which someone did ask. Gatorboard is a rigid substance, very different than foam board. Foam board warps. Gatorboard does not. Just listen up to how hard it is. Okay, it's a very hard substance. It does not warp. It's actually made with wood on it, a wood product, but it is very easy to work with and extremely lightweight. Much like foam board, but rigid. It comes in different thicknesses. This particular piece is 3/16. It comes in 1/2 inch widths. It comes 3/4 inch, 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches. I even heard that they do have a 2-inch, but I can't confirm that just yet. So you might use a 2-inch to back something off the wall quite a bit, but I have another way to do that, which I'll point out to you in just a moment. So it comes in different thicknesses. It also comes in different colors. So you have white, you have black, which is a nice substrate to use at different times. And the white comes in either white on both sides or white with a cream color on the other side. It's basically gives you some choices. And I understand there are some new colors on the market, but we really don't use that. We exclusively use the white and the black Gatorboard. So that is Gatorboard. And as a result of it being so rigid, it's great to mount a print on, and then you have a way to display it. So let me give you some, and one other thing I do want to mention to you is that it is very easy to cut Gatorboard. So I use what is known as a Stanley Fat Max. I'll put that in the description below the video. The Stanley Fat Max, which is a wonderful knife to use to cut Gatorboard. What Gatorboard allows you to do is to create some really nice ways to exhibit your prints at home, or even for an exhibition, if you will. So this is actually mounted on the Gatorboard. It's very rigid. And what I do in order to mount it on a wall is use scrap pieces of the Gatorboard to create a standoff, we would call it, a way to have the image actually stand away from the wall, so it gives you a little bit of depth and creates a really nice display. All right, you can also have Gatorboard in extremely large sizes. This is what you're looking at now is a view of a zebra, a group of zebras that I photographed in Africa, and you can see it's a very large and very impressive kind of display with borders that we have to substitute for like what a traditionally mounted print would look like. And we get a lot of good comments about that. It's inexpensive. Gatorboard is fairly inexpensive, so there's another plus of it. All right. So the next question someone asked us was, well, how do you get the print to adhere to the Gatorboard? And that's kind of there's a couple of simple solutions. One is to use something, a method. There are two basic methods, let me say. One is to use dry mount tissue. And that, you can either buy dry mount tissue in standard sizes, like 8.5 by 11 or 13 by 19. It comes in sheets like this, very thin sheets, and these sheets have a permanent adhesive on it. It doesn't feel tacky to the touch, and that's because you must then put that sandwich, the Gatorboard, this adhesive sheet, and the print together on the board, and then put it into a heat press. Now, I know some people have used an iron to do it, so you would put on top of the print, you would put another sheet so that the iron doesn't come in direct contact with your print. But some people have used an iron successfully. In our studio, we use what is known as a dry mount press, which you now see in this still image of what a dry mount press actually looks like. So that's one method, using the dry mount press. Another method that we use with large, and I should mention, forgot that, is that the dry mount tissue can come in big rolls like this. So if you have, this is for 24-inch prints, you can use this, the larger roll of it. It saves money and it goes a long way. Another method, if you have really large prints that you want to adhere, is to use a substance that you actually roll on with a small roller tray like this and a foam roller, really simple. And that is a product that we get from Breathing Color. It's called Glamour 2. Again, we have no relationship with Breathing Color, but they produce this Glamour 2, which is really a coating for canvas prints. After you're done, you coat the canvas with it. But if you dilute it, it really makes an excellent adhesive for Gatorboard, print to Gatorboard mounts. So we use it quite a bit, and you just spread it on, and then you position the print, and you then put something heavy on top. We have a special board that we use on top, and then I take several cans of this heavy stuff, where you can use paint cans, whatever, to apply some weight and let the thing dry for about 24 hours. So that's another thing that we do. It's one of the two options. Now, let me just say one final thing about it. Some people like to use this 3M spray adhesive. We do not recommend it. First of all, it's not archival, so it has some acids in it that can degrade your print. And it also is very difficult to deal with. It is horribly noxious. You must wear a mask to use it. Actually, a rebreather mask is what they recommend. And it's messy. So we don't use this, but we have it in our studio for other purposes. One other thing that we do that I want to point out to you is that for very large images, like you see here, we reinforce the back. As I pointed out in the other one, the other print that I showed you, the other mounted print, and I have a technique that works so that you actually hang it by this angle, this triangle that you cut in here, and if you have it at the exact center, I'm just holding it with one finger, it works quite well. So there's just as it helps to reinforce the board, and it keeps it off the wall so you have some depth to it. So let me talk to you a little bit about some tips with using your Gatorboard. I think I've given you some of the basics about Gatorboard. Now let's get into some tips about it. First of all, when you order your Gatorboard, buy more than you think you'll need, especially if you're a beginner at this, because it takes some practice. Gatorboard's not that terribly expensive, so buy a little bit of extra, and whatever's left over after you make cuts to the exact size of your print, you can use as backing materials, as I explained, to allow you to hang the print standing off a wall. And by the way, you don't have to have it stand away from the wall. Some people will hang the Gatorboard right to the wall just using a little hook on the back that you can buy at the hardware store and hang it directly on the wall. I should point out also that Gatorboard 8.5 by 11-inch prints mounted on Gatorboard make wonderful presents. We're coming up to the holiday seasons now, and you can make 10, a dozen more of these very quickly once you get the process down pat. All right, another thing I want to point out is how to cut the Gatorboard when you're actually going to print it, when you're going to adhere a print to it. So here I have the 3/16 inch Gatorboard, and I'll put it down here. All you need is the Gatorboard, a good ruler. I use this ruler. Again, we have no relationship to the Savage company, but it's a solid metal ruler, and it has a guard to protect you from cutting yourself. Always a good thing. If you're going to cut, when you go to cut your Gatorboard, a couple of things. If you're using the Fat Max and you extend the blade, there's a little thumb screw right here. I urge you to torque that down tightly before you cut. That will prevent the blade. Sets a plate against the blade, and it prevents the blade from wobbling, so you'll get very nice straight cuts. The second thing I want to mention is use sharp blades. I would not cut more than 5 or 6 cuts through Gatorboard before I replace the blade. So I'm replacing the blades very often. And the way the Fat Max, the great thing about it is that when I go to replace a blade, they are scored, and it's hard for you to see, but we'll try to get a close-up in here. They're scored such that you can just take a little pliers, and all you do is put it along that scored line, click it like that. You just cut off the blade, that end blade, and you exposed a new blade. And what I do, and a hint I would give you, is go online. Amazon sells these in packets of 10. So if you buy it, you have 10 of these long blades. Each one has, I think, 8 blades on it that you can access. So it's a pretty good deal. Save you some money. Now, back to the actual cutting. I torque down my thumb screw. So here's the point. Instead of cutting straight with the blade held straight down, angle your blade, assuming the print is on top now, angle the blade internally like this when you make your cut. What that will do is that will make it so that when you mount the picture on, I'll use an actual one where I did this, when you mount the print on a wall, even if you look at it from the side, you will not see that foamness, if you will, on the side of the Gatorboard, because it'll be recessed out of view. So it's a good thing to do, to remember to just create a bevel, if you will, there. So use fresh blades, like I say, maybe 5, 6 cuts into Gatorboard and you're ready for a new blade. They're so inexpensive, it's absurd. When it's all adhered to the Gatorboard with whatever method you use, I always like to keep something solid like a piece of wood on top, cover the print of course, and put something on top of it and then weight it down with, as I mentioned before, paint cans, or if you have weights, something, and leave it for several hours. I usually leave it overnight. Two other things that I want to mention. It would pay for you before you actually do the adhering your print to the Gatorboard. It would pay to spray your print. So we recommend, especially if it's a matte print, if it's a high gloss print, then really there's no need to spray it. But with a matte print, spray it first. We recommend Desert Varnish by Moab. And here I will, for full disclosure, say that we do have a relationship with Moab Fine Art Papers, and we use their Desert Varnish, which I actually purchase from the company. But we love it. It doesn't spit, so to speak, and it produces you really get great results with this Moab Desert Varnish. The last thing I would recommend in terms of tips is, since you're going to be handling the print a lot during this mounting process, wear gloves. It always helps to have these on. I usually wear one glove on my left hand because I'm right-handed. It's the left hand that I use to hold put it onto the print itself. So when I make my cuts, I'm using a gloved hand and making my cuts that way. When I go to position the print onto the Gatorboard, then I'll use two gloves. These are cotton gloves, inexpensive. They can be washed, but they're so inexpensive. You can, as soon as they get at all dirty, you can just get rid of them. So I think that about covers what I wanted to tell you about Gatorboard with some tips. It's a great medium. I think you'll enjoy it. The other thing I mentioned earlier about creative ways to use the Gatorboard. So now let me show you a couple of examples of this. Right now you're looking at a print of an elephant, a bull elephant image that I took in South Africa, and that is adhered to Gatorboard, and then the Gatorboard is adhered to another piece of Gatorboard, and it's mounted inside a frame. We call this an open frame display. And it's really wonderful if you want to showcase your paper, have people see the texture in the paper. We double spray the print in these cases because we like it when people, tentatively touch it to feel the texture and get that tactile feel of the paper. So that would be one creative way. And then we have this image of a large Kalahari lion that I took, and it is a slightly different way of creating a display, but it is again mounted on Gatorboard, and then another piece of Gatorboard is adhered to the back that allows it to stand out from the frame. And it makes a really effective display. We've sold several of these large. The image that you're looking at of the lion is 50 inches wide. It's printed on 44-inch paper, 3-inch borders all around. So it's 50 by 50, and it really creates, I think, an effective display. So that's it for today. If you have any questions, feel free to write in. That might stimulate another video to clarify some of these things. But good luck on creating some of these Gatorboard displays. And until the next video, stay safe and be well.